Hello, 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 and welcome back, my lovelies. I love you all. Welcome, superstars. Welcome back to Unbound Studios, OP Production Studios. For tax reasons, we go by two different names. One's for Canada, one's for here. But don't tell the IRS. That's a joke. Pay your taxes, kids. I promise you, it'll be shit every time you do it, unless you get really lucky. And if you win the lottery, maybe try to see if you can pay the tax early. Anyway, as you can see, we have a lovely Squiddo in her very lovely I'm going to the beach for the first time, but I also have halitosis gear. And the only reason we're wearing shoes, if you follow me on Twitter at Mejuri is because I've already leveled this up, and I really love when I do the salmon runs. I get the little gear XP upgrades, so I try and just like swap everything around. But the new cannon for Mejuri, her new cannon look, we get a lovely pilot goggles given to her by a senpai, our character from the last game that we never played. Fuck off. I have it here. This would be what she wears, like, if she's hunting someone down. Like, if she has to hunt your ass down after you pull some cheap bullshit, she's gonna hunt you down. This would be what she would wear, like, in her workshop. This is just like, yo, I'm gonna fucking play some b-ball. This is the go-to-work gear, but I know I have a different one. And I know I have it here. Where is it? I love all these outfits. Goddamn. No, not that one. God, not that one. No, no. Where is it? Oh, yeah, the Freddy Krueger shirt. I love this one, by the way. Nope, that's literally just if you go bowling. Here it is. And her cannon shoes. I can't remember which ones I had actually given her. I think it was. No, there was a flow to it. Hold on. I got this. No. Oh wait, we're wearing the wrong pants. There we go. The pants are what helped me figure things out. There we go. Wait, why did I do that? It's like if you're an artist like my good friend Yuki, check her out at Sagittarion. If you follow me on at Mejuri you'll be able to find her. These were not the right boots. Fuck. It's the yellow. The yellow is actually throwing me off, but yeah. This was Mejuri's canon look. Of course, you only see it from the top up in the official artwork. And because it is summer, this would be hot as balls. So we are changing it. Give me a sec. This is the gear we were trying to level up before. Where's our sandals? Muscle Forge flip-flops. Muscle Forge, the rock climbing area, has a brand of flip-flops. And or that is just an existent brand, and I'm an idiot. I don't want to. Fuck you. So anyway, yeah. We're going to, as the title said, try to level up some stuff. Maybe we'll go for a ranked match, because it's currently a match type that I can actually handle. Turn that down. And we're going to try and level up some stuff. We might do a salmon run or two. And, while I'm at it, I might even do like I promised in the last video and tell you a bit about how writing works. But that one, in and of itself, requires some background. I do not have experience with published writing. I've never once tried. I would not be able to do it. I would be horrible. And that is not like, oh, woe is me type pessimism. That's like, oh, for the love of God, do not ever give me the rights to write anything for you. At least not if you want it to be good. Wait, hold on. Okay, that should fix my problem. Oh wow, we got synced up pretty quick. So yeah. Anyway, writing in and of itself is something very difficult to do. If you are going to write, do not do it just because you think, oh, I am an artiste, I'm deep, I'm brooding, I'm emotional, and I need other people to know my pain through my words so that they will find inspiration in me and live lives that I see fit for them to live, and so on and so forth. Such bullshit. Honestly, if you want to hear somebody who doesn't sound like a complete show to explain this, go watch Plague of Gripes. He's an amazing person. He did the Let's Gripe About Writing and Let's Gripe About Horror series of videos that I greatly enjoy. Ah, goddammit, I forgot. Neo stands. Good for you. Fucking bastard. I get off my special pretty much at the beginning of every match, and that happens. And we're not trying to play well, by the way, right now. We're just, like, having fun, trying to level up our shit. We might have to drop and rebuff our gear, but, you know, it's like... During the Splatfest, by the way, if any of you played the Splatfest, tell me which side you were on. Of course, if you were on the winning side like I was with Team Narwhal, then of course you don't need to tell me. I know we were awesome. Thank you for falling for that trap. Okay. But yeah, writing in and of itself is a very difficult thing. It is something very difficult to grasp. But let's go over some ground rules when it comes to writing. And this is from my personal perspective of what you need if you're going to take on writing as a whole. And that is you need not only a good narrative, but you need to understand exactly what are you trying to like put forward. So if you're making a story about a man who goes on a hunt for the person who shot his little brother in the arm at a bar, because like, why would you be such a dick? Maybe don't take 20 minutes to explain the Athenian legal system. I mean, you could do that if that were somehow tied to the story, but, you know, keep a consistent narrative. Uh, and if you're going to do a story that's supposed to be like a romance type deal about love and betrayal, preferably in Atlanta, woo, kill streak. If you're going to do something that's about like love and betrayal between a very close knit family, where it's like a dad and his 14-year-old son, uh, like this dad marries this woman who's like a year younger than him. That's probably not relevant, but like marries a woman who's a year younger than him and has a 15-year-old daughter. But like because the mom has been there the whole time for her, and she doesn't really have a dad, her whole outlook on the world is very feminine, you know. Or and again, this is feminine in like the sense of like stereotypically feminine. It's like, oh, buttercups and rainbows, oh, we're so idyllic. You know, it's that kind of shit. And it's like she's never interacted with a boy her age. She's never interacted with any men. You know, her mom's basically put the idea in her head that it's like, oh, men are evil. If you're going to do a story like that, where it's like this family, these two broken families come together to become a whole, and like say this new brother and sister start off as brother and sister, and then they develop further along those lines and become more than that, maybe, just maybe, don't explain to me why every June and May the specific series of flowers bloom in a specific pattern. We don't care, we don't want to know, unless it has something to do with the story. So have a consistent narrative. That's part one of every fucking single goddamn story you're gonna fucking write in the rest of your fucking days. Have a consistent fucking narrative. I cannot stress this enough. If I'm echoey, it's because my fucking headset and my other headset suddenly stopped working. So I'm probably gonna need to buy a new headset. And for some reason, Microsoft Word just opened up. I don't know why. Stop. Stop. Why did you just open up? Stop it. All right. Hopefully that didn't fuck my recording. God damn it. Hold on. Anyway, so yeah, have a consistent narrative is step one. Step two, this one's actually my favorite part, at least when I do my writing. This is what I do as step two. Step two is stop everything related to writing the plot and focus on creating those characters. Because a story is only as good as the characters that are supposed to bring it to life. Like, if you want to make a story that kind of just outlines your perspectives on the ever shifting boundaries of like the economy, is like, oh, at this point in time it was okay for somebody to do blank and blank with blank, but now it's not. Oh, god damn it, how did I was certain I hit him. Huh. Again, we're not trying to play that. But like, flesh out your characters. So it's like, if you're the type of person, and that's if you're writing a story that has characters, by the way. I'm not saying like if you're trying to write a book on the socioeconomic structure of third world countries in which you are outlining how, I don't know, fucking Americans are so naturally greedy that we end up fucking over the countries that we try to incorporate into our own idyllic means. Like, you don't need a character for that. You have an entire country as your character, so don't bother. But if you're writing a story where, like, you know what, let's just take a really random bad story, let's make one up. Let's call it Twilight. Yeah, let's make up a story. We're going to call it Twilight, and it's going to be about mentally deficient girls with dependency problems who end up needing the love and affection of multiple men in order to make themselves feel any sort of vindication. And we're going to set this in some random foresty bullshit town. Thank you. And we're going to, I don't know, let's incorporate a bit of the mythical. Let's have the boy she first meets and whose cock she sucks in the back of a van. Let's have him be a werewolf and the other one be a vampire. There we go. This is a completely original story. We're totally not making fun of a terrible series of books. If you want those characters to make sense, don't just have the girl's whole thing be, oh, I feel like I'm different and I'm broody. That's not an established female character. That's not anything. That's just, oh, I'm like Batman if you were a 16-year-old girl who doesn't apparently get enough fucking sunlight in a place where geographically it would be about 90 degrees in the sun. And if you're going to have the first boy she runs into, you know, the werewolf, if you're going to have him be, you know, her first love interest for this big love triangle, you have to have him fleshed out more than, oh, I'm a werewolf, so I'm buff, my shirt is frequently off, and I have weirdly homoerotic moments with my bros. I have weirdly homoerotic moments with my bros, and I'm totally down for dating younger girls, like really young. Some could say it's criminally young how young I like my girls. But you know, it's not like I'm dating a baby. And for the second boy, have him be less like if you're going to have him be a vampire and you want him to not be like one of those stereotypical vampires, flesh him out. Don't have him be, oh, I'm a vampire and thus we can't be together, even though technically speaking I'm the one who was attracted to you and thus the whole we can't be together thing is kind of bullshit. But also, look at my nipples. You know, you can't do that. Flesh the characters out. If a character has no basically think of it like you have the person in front of you. If they're not fleshed out, they're just a walking pile of muscle and sinew and bone, and it's terrifying. However, when it comes to fleshing out those characters, you know, step two, be careful not to flesh them out too much. Again, just like I said before, if you're going to tell me a story about a couple going through hard times because, I don't know, their firstborn child has cancer, maybe lay off telling me why the Queen to all the nations made a royal proclamation. I don't fucking care. This is not what we are covering. This is never what we are covering. And yes, that was a reference to the Mary Poppins reboot. It was a good movie. Fuck you. Avoid telling me things I don't need to know or care about. And a lot of people are going to argue that by knowing more about the world, you care more about the characters. That's true, but that's only in the event that the world and characters are people that I want to care about to begin with. Thank you. Are people that I want to care about to begin with. It's like if I don't care about them, they are not going to phase me as hard. If your story is about knights conquering an entire fucking country, all to be told that that country that they conquered is full of poor people who are in the desperate need, who are in desperate need of assistance, from bigger, stronger countries, like so many countries before them, are in desperate need of the help of a stronger country, but the stronger country doesn't want to help them because they see it as a net loss. You can't just have that be said outright. And you want one of your characters involved in this story to be a general in an army for that country, then do that. But for the love of God, flesh them out. Don't have it be like, oh, we have to serve the weak in order to protect the strong. That is what I was raised to believe. And it's like, that obviously doesn't make sense. What country would have that be their rule? It's the whole the whole don't write like you talk scenario. Don't write like you talk. If that is how you personally view something, you can't, have that be how your character views it and say, oh look, the character's so deep and fleshed out now. They have my same views and ideals. That must count, right? That must count for something, right? No, it doesn't. It never does and never will. It's not how it works. Uh, so it's like, don't flesh the character out so much to where once the story starts, I know this was kind of sporadic. I was trying to focus on talking, but I ended up getting sucked into the game. But if you're trying to focus on like the relationships between your characters while you're fleshing them out in this step 2 process, make sure that as you flesh out the character, you already know what you want them to be. So take Mejuri, for instance. She's my adorable Squiddo, and she's the one who's in front of me that I can use as a reference, so we're going to do that. Mejuri, her whole deal is the character from Splatoon 1, Agent 3, the one that, had I had the game, I would have been able to actually flesh him out. I just designed him, and then I never actually got the game because I didn't have a Wii U, so I couldn't actually, test out anything with him. But, I named him Inko, and he was basically, this kind of a badass character. He was like James Bond, but as an Inkling. And also less willing to sleep with everyone. Inko has this very unique weapon that is multiple weapons in one. It's called the Multisplat, and it's really cool. He beats the story mode, yay! And everything's kind of good, and then shit gets fucked. And the problem is, Mejuri is very much like Inko. She's got a lot of skill, but she's a big diamond in the rough. She doesn't like the idea of someone trying to tell her how to do the things she does. And she especially doesn't like the idea of an authoritarian type, instructor. She doesn't like the idea of somebody in a role of authority acting as if they have the right to tell her how she is to go about things. So in the story of Splatoon 2, the little headcanon we have for Mejuri here, her whole deal is that she shows up to this new world, is that she shows up to Angopolis Square. She leaves home, shows up to Angopolis Square, sort of like a Pokemon trainer going out into the world. And her first instinct is, I need to get somewhere. I need... Oh, Jesus Christ! Oh, what the hell? That was well timed. Good for you. But her whole idea when she first rolls up into Angopolis Square is, okay, Nobody knows what I actually am because in our story, like she's half octoling, half inkling. You've seen like enough fan art of people's like OCs to know what that looks like. Hopefully, it's like she's basically got a mix of inkling and octoling traits. To her. So it's like her tentacles are very like mixed matched, and she's very self conscious about it because from her perspective, she thinks people will hate her because she's not like everyone else. She believes that the lack of normality makes her a target, and so that's her whole deal. The lack of normality makes me a target. Is her whole identity. And when she meets Inko, he's the hardened badass from the first game. He's the one who's like, you have a lot of skill and potential just like I did, but you clearly lack training. I'm going to train you. Mejuri didn't want the training. She didn't want his help. So she's like, well, if a problem presents itself to me that I don't want to solve, logically, I'm just going to beat the problem into submission. Oh, goddamn, I'm getting fucked. It's like I'm just gonna beat the problem in submission. She tries to fight Inko, and if you've seen a movie where it's like he's the badass, she's the newbie. This one's the badass, this one's the new guy. This new guy thinks they're so skilled they can kill the badass. Now Mejuri ends up failing, and Inko's like, okay, so now are you gonna listen? And Mejuri ends up reluctantly allowing him to train her. And the entire time, she's just doing the whole I'm still defiant type deal, where it's like, oh, you want to train me, but you don't know how, I operate. But you don't know how I operate. He tries to convince her that while it is easy to simply just beat down any problem you have, say a person is disagreeing with you, you can just beat their ass. It's important to learn self-control. But that's, not how Mejuri rolls. So when I was fleshing her out, trying to determine everything, everything from like how does she look, what does she use, what tells you just by looking at her that she is definitely not the type to give a shit, and it is the idea that it's a hidden personality. And that's step 3, by the way. I should have given you that indicator. I just held my arm up as if I was saying teacher attention. But no, step 3. Give your characters a personality. If you just go with this person doesn't like cheese, and then the rest of the story that never comes into play, you wonder why the hell they don't like cheese. Let's use another character as an example. Let's use. Does anyone remember the series called The Batman? It was that really, really good animated show, animated adaptation of Batman. I think it played on Cartoon Network, and then I think it went to like Boomerang Online. But it was a really good show. It had the best version of the Joker I'd ever seen. It also had the best version of the Riddler I'd ever seen. The Riddler in that one is the best example of giving your characters a personality that makes it far easier to design the world around them. And that's like an example of grand scaling in a sense. But in that one, the Riddler is Edward Nygma. Enigma. He's Enigma. Oh, we're clever. Fuck off! Wow! He's Edward Nygma. And if anyone knows Batman Forever, you're thinking, oh, does it follow that one? No, it doesn't. It actually goes a completely different route. In this one, while Edward Nygma is still a scientist, the reason he becomes the Riddler is vastly different. Apparently, the story goes that he develops this really revolutionary microchip. Again, there's stuff about his past being that there's a lot of stuff in his past about how he always felt he was uniquely different. His father never really accepted that. he was more scientifically gifted than he was athletically gifted. The typical dad only thinks the useful skills are athletics and brute strength, and never intelligence. Oh God, fucking gag me with the spoon with this bullshit. So sick of that fucking story. I'm sick to death of that fucking storyline. God. But one of the things about this one that made him different was the fact that that was literally how he was. It's like, God damn it, sorry, I had something in my eye and I could not focus. Where was I? Yeah, right. Okay. Let me get back to properly explaining this character. So this one is the best version of the Riddler, simply because when they explain his backstory, they have him explain it, and they do it in a really idyllically perfect scenario, because he's literally doing it inside of a sinking container with Batman because he plans to kill himself along with Batman, as well as destroy a bunch of microchips that are the ones he designed, or at least they would have been, had it not been for what he thought was the super rich, eccentric jock type guy who clearly had the hots for his girlfriend, sabotaging their prototype, and thus resulting in the deaths of resulting in the near death of an investor. And thus resulting in the near death of an investor, for which Nigma was blamed. For which Nigma himself was blamed. And it goes through the whole thing. It's like, oh, he wanted her all to himself, and he wanted me out of the picture, so he sabotaged our multi-million-dollar experiment, nearly killed a man, also he could have my girlfriend. And obviously, if you're watching, it doesn't make any fucking sense. It's like, why would the guy go through all that fucking trouble? Why not just, kill you or have you fired or anything? But that's where the Riddler's personality then comes in. He then explains that after that, I think he literally says, after that, it was all clockwork. One can't help but want revenge when they've been wronged. He argues that it's perfectly okay, to try to kill somebody as long as they have, done something wrong to you prior. Which, by the way, don't use that logic, kids. You will go to jail. Weird PSA moment. The more you know. But yeah, no. He explains that, the story should be obvious. It's like, he lied to me, he betrayed me, and I don't care anymore. And then it does another flashback, within a flashback sort of kind of the Riddler before adopting his green look, back when he was just, regular Edward, but he had augmented the apartment of the rich asshole into a giant puzzle and designed it to basically kill him. And the Riddler did one thing that fans of the actual Riddler will note is a very big personality shift, and that is that he made an unsolvable riddle. He made an unsolvable riddle that the guy wouldn't be able to fix, because he said, if you win the game, you go free. And the Riddler, in the comics, I believe, is always kind of a stand-up guy. It's if you solve his riddles, he'll let you go, but he'll make sure you are traumatized beyond belief. But, it's he'll make sure you're traumatized beyond belief. This is not a coward tactic. This is a smart tactic. Ah, damn it. Anyway, it's a major personality shift because the Riddler always is about fair play. A riddle is supposed to be difficult but not unsolvable, blah blah blah. Anyway, the whole thing about personality basically comes around when the Riddler explains that the reason he's crazy is because of Batman. It's because when Batman showed up the first time and stopped him from killing the rich guy, the Riddler felt betrayed. He felt like even Batman's betrayed him. Batman is supposed to be the guy who stands up for the little guy, and the Riddler, Edward, he had been betrayed, It's like, this guy almost kills a man, blames me for it, and then steals my girlfriend. Batman, what the fuck? He's like, what the fuck, Batman? This guy, almost kills a man, steals my girlfriend, and you just let him go free. What the fuck? And then, yeah, that's a horrible thing. But then Batman, drops down with some Bruce Wayne insight. I hate that stupid weapon. With some Bruce Wayne insight and goes, Ed. Even you can't be this stupid. Why would he? He wasn't a scientist. He was a jock. The very type of person that you despise, Why would he actually have a reason? In fact, how would he have even managed to augment your technology? You even said it yourself. There's no way he'd be smart enough to ever understand the true potential of what you were creating. So it's like, how would he have done it? And it comes to the conclusion that it was actually his girlfriend. Well, guess what it was for? It was all for money. The money. Ed's whole thing that he was like, oh, I'm not doing this just for the money. I'm doing this for the science. And she's like, no, I'm doing it for the money. And I want to get fucking paid, yo. I'm a scientist working at a prestigious university that I think is also partially funded by the Wayne Foundation. We don't get paid enough, which is some fucking bullshit. And it's like, okay, you now see what happened. And it's all related to his personality. It's like Edward's personality, as we know it up to this point from his flashbacks, is the type to be very disproportionate in his response. He's very violent, It's like, oh, you tried to frame me for murder. I will now hold your family hostage over a giant grill, and you must answer a riddle for each one of them. And for each question and for each attempt you use without giving the right answer, they will be slowly lowered and or dropped completely into this giant grill. And I will then make you eat them as a part of the next challenge. And at the end, I'll stab you in your respective genitalia and leave you to rot. Even if you live, you'll never catch me. It's like, he's a very disproportionate guy. That's stupid. He's a very disproportionate guy. It's like, yeah, we can understand that. We can see that. We get that. That's literally his personality. He's supposed to be crazy, but not without reason. And yes, I am defending the Riddler, at least in the Batman series. Because he actually has a legit reason. Like, I would be fucking pissed if my girlfriend fucking let me get blamed for murder and go to get blamed for attempted murder and almost go to jail just because she wanted more money than what we were being given. It's like, what a selfish biatch. It's like, what a selfish biatch. Skydive. Thank you. It's like, what a selfish biatch. Like, I wouldn't go as far as he does, which is literally trying to blow her head off. Like, he tries to fry her brain inside and out with the computer chip. Because it's like, if one computer chip, when overloaded, can make a man, brain dead, what will 5 being used on all key parts of the brain at the same time do to you? Let's find out. And then he basically tries to give her a lobotomy. And it's fucking horrifying. But it's like, given his personality, this makes sense. Had this guy instead gone up to his girlfriend, explained to him why he didn't want to take more money, and like they just live happily ever after that, it's like, no, that's not how that works. That's bullshit. damn it. It's like, it's like, it matches his person. It doesn't match his personality. It's like, no, this isn't the Riddler. The Riddler is very disproportionate in his punishments. He'll kill 10 people for the crimes of one man because of some sort of weird cryptic reason. The Riddler's the type to order a steak rare and then complain that it wasn't bloody enough. Complain it wasn't bloody enough, and then put your blood on it. That's the type of guy that Edward Nygma is. He's that type of asshole. And when you put it to the situation, it makes sense. This whole video is completely fucking sporadic because I can't find a proper game to play while talking about this subject. But basically, when you design your character's personality and flesh them out, it has to match the world. Because if you design the world first and then try to make a character that fits into it, the problem is you then try to make characters too specific. So say you wanted to make a big fantasy world where there's dragons and knights and shit, and it's all, woo, what did he fucking do? It's like, yeah, fucking never-ending story, basically. Yeah, never-ending story. And you're like, yeah, this is fun, this is idyllic, I like this. But then you're like, okay, we've designed the world in its entirety. We now need to make characters to fill it out. You then start internalizing everything as, okay, if I make this character, where do they live? What god do they pray to? We make gods in this world. Where do they go for shopping? If I make them live here, they'll need this, this, and this, and then it's a whole mess. And it's because when you design the character, to fit around the world, it's easier because then you can say, I want a knight with a ridiculously anime-sized sword and fire magic that he uses with the sword, and it's like super cool looking. And they're like, yeah, okay, now just design that. Now just design the world that makes that work. It's like you have a knight, so make it fantasy. You have magic, so you can make it high fantasy. You have ridiculous anime-style swords, well, guess what? You pretty much, again, can just stick with the whole high fantasy. You don't have to go any further than that. You don't have to go any further than that. It's perfect the way it is. It's perfect the way it is. But then there comes another problem. It's like, okay, I've now made the world, and I've made a character to fit the world. You now need to make the characters that fit the world if you do it the other way. If you go, okay, I've made this very high fantasy looking world, but because I made the world, I've established the rules without having to establish the context. If you establish a set of rules for how a bunch of characters live, eat, and dress in a specific area without having the character that is an example of that, you now have established rules without context. It's like saying, in this area, everyone fucks a gnome by age 15. It's like, okay, but then how do you make the character? Do you just make a gnome? And if you make a gnome, do you make a gnome girl or a gnome boy? If you make a gnome boy, do a different set of rules apply to him? Do people still fuck a gnome by age 15? What happens? How does that work? With a character, are there a different set of rules that apply to how they can be treated? If you make a world in which, I don't know, every cheeseburger became sentient, rose up and made its own society, and they also discovered the secret to immortality in all living things, how do you convey that? It's like maybe lay off of that. Because it's like, you've designed this world, but is there a cheeseburger character? Is one of the characters maybe not a cheeseburger? What happens if a burger is a chicken burger? What about veggie patties? Did they come to life? You've made more questions than there are answers. You've made more work for yourself. You have to design things in a specific order. You can't just go with caution to the wind in this situation. God damn. I'm trying too hard right now. You can't just go with caution to the wind and expect the world you've designed to naturally take the characters you want to make. And we're going to end the video today with a salmon run because I want to show you guys something really fucking stupid. And it is the ridiculous bullshit that is professional level spawn rates. But it's like, if I want to make a world for Mejuri, like say the Splatoon games never existed, and I want to make a world for Mejuri, I would have to do so much, so goddamn much just to make her if I made the world first. If I said, this is the world I want to make, now let's make a character, that involves so goddamn much. It is ridiculous how much that would involve. You'd have to think of, oh, does this character, if I make Mejuri, for this new world I've created, what is going to be unique about her to make her stand out? You're worried more about what makes them stand out rather than what just makes the fucking character. It's like, oh, I want my character to be respectable when I show it to, readers. But does that mean I have to make my character a male? Do I have to make him a female? Because in the world I designed, males have more respect than females. It's like, well, that's already a problem because you designed the rules of the world, but you didn't have a character to act as a context reference. Like, look at Mr. Grizz. This is actually another reason I want to come over to this bullshit. Look at Mr. Grizz. He's a fucking bear with a salmon in his mouth, goddamn speaker, and it's so hilarious because we're taking orders from this motherfucker, and we are expected to put our lives on the line for this bullshit. If you wanted to make a story for Salmon Run, which the Sunken Scrolls kind of explain a bit with some horrifying imagery. You've already got, and you established the world. How the hell are you going to make characters that don't seem completely insane? Like, I'll make this the quirky girl who's always kind of klutzy. Like, why the hell is she in Salmon Run? Why is she here? Why is she doing the Salmon Run? If she's a klutz, if anything, no one would let her near anything. Oh, God, this way. Oh, no. It's like, why would they let her near anything? Why would they let her near anything at all? Why wouldn't they just say, look, you stay on the fucking boat, we'll go into this with only 3 people if we fucking have to. Like, we'll go into this shit with 3 people if we have to, but you are not going to fucking do this. Oh, God. Whoop. Oh, God damn it. It's like, fuck, where was I? Oh, yeah. It was, like, if I want to make a world for this character, that's one thing. But if I want to make a character for this world, that's a whole nother. Because now I'm worried more about, am I keeping consistent? And you should always worry about consistency. Consistency is always important. But you should never worry about consistency in the sense that if I make the Salmon One world, and now I need a character to occupy it, or characters to occupy it, because you need a full team, don't make the quirky girl who's always losing her fucking pencil. Don't make the guy with a weak stomach who can't handle gory who can't handle gore and viscera. You know, don't make the idyllic Wunderkind who's super independent and doesn't like the idea of having to work with others. That runs completely counter to the whole point of the world. Especially if the world's rules are you need a team. Especially if the rules of the world are you need a team. Like, look at that. Look at that just now. You see what happened to me by going out on my own and trying to fucking solve this shit on my own? Problems. That's what. Because now we end up with characters who go off on their own and end up getting themselves killed. Maybe avoid making the I'm super heroic character. You know, the one who's always willing to self-sacrifice for the good of the group, but is never consistent with it. It's like, I sacrifice myself for the good of the group. I know that the only thing that matters. I know that the only thing that matters is that everyone else is safe, not that I'm safe. It's like, that's fine, that's cute, that's dandy, that's all nice and neat and peachy keen. But fuck off if you're going to have him be the guy I have to root for. You know, it's like, fuck off if they're going to be the person I root for. Don't make the, oh, I happen to really, really, really like... No. Don't make the character who's got a fetish either for that world. Don't make the, I've got me a little bit of a fetish for danger. Because they'll endanger the entire fucking mission by trying to get their rocks off every 40 fucking seconds. Like, I've got a boner for danger. Like, I've got a boner for danger. It's so hot. The idea of being ripped to shreds by a vicious Samoid. Oh god, it gets me so moist. Like, don't do that. Don't do that. Have some self-respect. Oh, screw that. You know, have some self-respect. Don't have the character, you know, design. If you're going to design those characters, you then have to make them all pretty much business-hardened, the Walking Dead style, fucking like cynical bastards. And yes, you actually would have to do that to make them make sense. You would actually have to do that to make them make sense. Because if you didn't, then what ends up happening is that you have characters who are all quirky and individualistic in a world that has already been established to not be very welcoming to that. You know, it's like if you design a world where the South won the Civil War and everything is now a bunch of rednecks who fuck their cousins. Don't have one of your characters be the super woke person who's all PC and also gay and has a gender non-binary life partner and an adoptive son or an adoptive child. That completely clashes with everything you've established. And even if they're your main character and that's supposed to be the thing that makes them set apart from everything, it doesn't make sense. Case in point, if you're going to make... Oh, wow, that's an awesome hat. Damn. It's the case in point, if you're going to make something, and if you're going to design it in a specific way, and then try to make a character around that world, be very goddamn careful. Because eventually what you realize is that nothing you've made makes sense, because every other second someone who's reading this is going to be questioning, wait, why is this person who's allergic to tofu living in a city where their main export is fucking tofu? That makes about as much sense as a kid with a peanut allergy being the new Mr. Peanut. It doesn't make sense. Sorry, I got a little overpassionate, and the fucking gameplay itself just kind of made me lose myself. If there's a better game you think I should play in order to discuss this topic, do feel free to tell me. Until then, though, Mejuri, any final words? Okay, no need to get, too extreme with it. Okay, we get it. We get it, Mejuri. This is your lovely Half Dragon director, Zyrok, signing off. Hopefully we can do this in a better way next time. Recommend me anything in the comments for what I should play next, or what I should talk about next. If this format was good, if this format was bad, if you want the longer videos back. Peace out! Nah, I'm never gonna fucking end like that. Anyway, see ya!